Hello dear students, I am Dr. Vishwajit Ghorpade and today we are going to discuss glycogen storage diseases. The objectives of this video lecture are, after completion of this lecture, you will be able to enlist glycogen storage diseases. You will be able to identify the defective enzymes which are responsible for this glycogen storage diseases, and also you will be able to state the characteristic features of glycogen storage diseases. Now, what are these glycogen storage diseases? Glycogen storage diseases are nothing but they are the metabolic defects which are related to the glycogen synthesis or glycogen degradation. If the enzymes which are responsible for glycogen synthesis or glycogen breakdown become deficient in our body, under such circumstances, there will be deposition of glycogen in one or more tissues of our body. If this happens, then there will be occurrence of glycogen storage diseases. Before understanding the glycogen storage diseases, let us see the summary of glycogen metabolism so that it will be easier for us to understand those diseases. Now, glycogen metabolism usually consists of glycogenesis and glycogenolysis. In glycogenesis, we had seen that glycogen is synthesized from glucose, whereas in glycogenolysis, glycogen is broken down into glucose. Let us see which steps we have studied in our glycogenesis and glycogenolysis through this pathway. In glycogenesis, initially, glucose gets converted into glucose 6-phosphate in presence of enzyme hexokinase. Thereafter, this glucose 6-phosphate gets converted into glucose 1-phosphate in presence of enzyme phosphoglucomutase. This glucose 1-phosphate interacts with uridine triphosphate, that is UTP, to form UDP glucose. This UDP glucose interacts with glycogen in protein to form a primer. The glycogen primer which is formed over here in presence of enzyme glycogen synthase gets converted into unbranched glycogen. The image of unbranched glycogen is shown towards right, where you will observe that 8 glucose molecules are attached to the glycogen in protein. And in between these glucose molecules, there exists alpha-1,4 glycosidic linkages. Now, if the concentration of this unbranched glycogen increases within our cytosol, then some of these unbranched glycogen molecules will enter into our lysosome within the cell. And if this happens, then in lysosome, there is one enzyme, lysosomal alpha glucosidase, which will break down this unbranched glycogen into glucose and oligosaccharides. Once unbranched glycogen is formed, in presence of enzyme glucosyl 4,6 transferase, it gets converted into glycogen, which consists of elongated chains and branches of glucose residues. This glycogen then undergoes glycogenolysis. Now let us see the glycogenolysis pathway. In glycogenolysis, initially the glycogen in presence of enzyme glycogen phosphorylase is converted into limit dextrin by liberating glucose 1-phosphate molecules from the non-reducing ends of the glycogen polymeric molecule. This limit dextrin is broken down by debranching enzyme and glycogen phosphorylase enzyme into glucose 1-phosphate. This glucose 1-phosphate in presence of phosphoglucomutase again gets converted into glucose 6-phosphate, and the glucose 6-phosphate formed over here in presence of enzyme glucose 6-phosphatase gets converted into glucose. Now in this entire cycle of glycogen metabolism, some steps have been marked in pink color and also some numbers are given to those steps. These numbers indicate the type of glycogen storage disease which can occur if the enzyme associated with those respective steps become deficient. For example, here the conversion of glucose 6-phosphate to glucose has been marked with pink color and number 1 is given over here. This indicates that if there is deficiency of glucose 6-phosphatase enzyme, then there will be occurrence of type 1 glycogen storage disease. Similarly, there will be type 2, type 3, type 4, type 5, type 6 and type 7 glycogen storage diseases, which we are going to discuss further. Now, in order to discuss the glycogen storage diseases, let us take this cycle towards left hand side, so that it will be easier for us to discuss the glycogen storage diseases towards right hand side. If there is deficiency of glucose 6-phosphatase enzyme, which helps in conversion of glucose 6-phosphate to glucose in glycogenolysis, then there will be occurrence of type 1 glycogen storage disease, which is also known as von Gerke's disease. The organs which are affected in this disease will be liver, kidney and intestine. The characteristic features of this von Gerke's disease include increase in the size of liver and kidney. There will be decrease in the glucose level within our body, due to which there will be fasting hypoglycemia. Thirdly, there will be occurrence of lactic acidemia. Now, what is this lactic acidemia? Let us understand it through this Cori's cycle. Now here the image which you are observing, it belongs to the Cori's cycle. Whenever we are performing any exercise, at that time the energy which is required by our muscle is provided by the glycolysis pathway. Here within the muscles, due to glycolysis, this glucose will be broken down into glucose 6-phosphate, which will be further broken down to give pyruvate. Under anaerobic condition, this pyruvate gets converted into lactate. Now this lactate gets into our blood, and through our blood it enters into the liver. In our liver, this lactate gets converted into pyruvate, and through glycogenesis, this pyruvate will be converted into glucose. Once the glucose is formed in our liver, this glucose will be further utilized by our muscles for energy. In case of deficiency of glucose 6-phosphatase enzyme, glucose 6-phosphate within our liver will not get converted into glucose. As a result, the concentration of lactate in our blood will increase. And if concentration of lactate in our blood increases, there will be occurrence of lactic acidemia. The fourth characteristic feature of von Gerke's disease is hyperlipidemia, where there will be increase in the concentration of fatty acids and ketone bodies in plasma. Now, what is this hyperlipidemia? In our glycogenolysis topic, we had seen that glycogen acts as the primary fuel reserve of our body, and fats act as secondary fuel reserve of our body. Whenever our body requires energy for its daily routine, at that time glycogen is broken down to generate energy. But if there is deficiency of glucose 6-phosphatase enzyme, under such circumstances, glycogen cannot be used for generation of energy. In this condition, fats will be utilized for generation of energy. Now, if fats are utilized for generation of energy, then there will be increase in the concentration of fatty acids and ketone bodies in plasma. This will lead to hyperlipidemia. The fifth characteristic feature is hyperuricemia, where there will be increase in the uric acid concentration in plasma. Let us see how. In case of deficiency of glucose 6-phosphatase enzyme, glucose 6-phosphate will not get converted into glucose. Then this glucose 6-phosphate will be utilized by our HMP shunt pathway to generate ribose 5-phosphate. Now, if this glucose 6-phosphate is maximally used for generation of ribose 5-phosphate, then there will be increase in the cellular level of phosphoribosyl pyrophosphate. This phosphoribosyl pyrophosphate is essential for synthesis of purine nucleotides. Now, if there is increase in the cellular level of this phosphoribosyl pyrophosphate, then there will be increase in the metabolism of purine nucleotides. Why? Because increase in the concentration of phosphoribosyl pyrophosphate will increase the production of purine nucleotides. And if more purine nucleotides are formed, there will be increase in the metabolism of purine nucleotides, and this will lead to increase in the plasma concentration of uric acid. This is because purine nucleotides are broken down to give the final product, that is nothing but the uric acid. Now, if the concentration of uric acid in our plasma increases, the condition is known as hyperuricemia. The important thing about this von Gerke's disease is that it is transmitted through autosomal recessive trait. Now, what is this autosomal recessive trait? In the image given below, you will see that the parents are carrying two copies of genes. If we consider father over here, father is containing two copies of genes, of which the first one is a mutated gene and the second one is the normal gene. Similarly, in case of mother, she is also carrying two copies of genes, of which the first one is the mutated gene and second one is the normal gene. Now, as these parents are carrying one mutated gene and one normal gene, they will act as a carrier. They will not suffer from glycogen storage disease. This is because the mutation of one gene will be compensated by the normal working gene over here, and that is why the parents are not going to get affected by glycogen storage disease. Now, if these parents are having 4 children, then in that case, one of these 4 children will be affected by glycogen storage disease. This is because of these 4 children, there will be one child who will be receiving one mutated gene from father and one mutated gene from mother. Now, if both the copies of genes of this child are mutated, in that case, this child will be affected by glycogen storage disease. On the other hand, there will be 2 children who will be containing one mutated gene and one normal gene. Therefore, they will be acting as carriers and they will not be affected by glycogen storage disease. Also, there will be one child who will be containing 2 copies of genes, both of which are normal. This child will be completely unaffected. It is not going to act as a carrier also. So, it will be a completely normal child. The mutation in GAA gene will cause deficiency of lysosomal alpha glucosidase enzyme. And if this enzyme becomes deficient, then there will be occurrence of type 2 glycogen storage disease, which is also known as Pompe's disease. The organs which are affected by Pompe's disease include mainly the heart, followed by liver, muscles, and nervous system. The characteristic features includes enlargement of heart and liver, muscle weakness, and death due to heart failure. These 3 characteristic features occur due to accumulation of glycogen in lysosomes. This is because lysosomal alpha glucosidase breaks down the unbranched glycogen to glucose and oligosaccharides within lysosomes. But if there is deficiency of lysosomal alpha glucosidase, then glycogen unbranched will not be broken down into glucose and oligosaccharides. So, the concentration of this unbranched glycogen in lysosome will go on increasing, which can cause cellular damage, further leading to enlarged heart and liver, muscle weakness, and death due to heart failure. Now, there are 2 types of Pompe's disease. One is infantile onset Pompe's disease and second one is late onset Pompe's disease. Let us see what are these 2 types. So the Pompe's disease, it consists of 2 types, that is infantile onset and late onset. The infantile onset can be further divided into 2 types, that is classic and non-classic. The classic infantile onset Pompe's disease usually begins within few months of the birth of a baby. In classic type, the baby suffers from myopathy, where there will be muscular weakness. There can be hypotonia, that is decrease in the tone of the muscles. Hepatomegaly means enlargement of liver, and there can be breathing problems. These breathing problems usually occur due to weakness in the diaphragm muscles. See that the diaphragm is made up of smooth muscles, and if it is made up of smooth muscles, of course it will become weak, and this will lead to the breathing problems. It has been observed that in classic type, death of the baby occurs in the first year itself due to heart failure. The non-classic type of infantile onset Pompe's disease begins at 1 year of age. The infant usually shows delayed motor skills, that is, it will show certain delay in the motor skills such as sitting, rolling, etc. The infant will show progressive muscle weakness. It will show cardiomegaly, where there will be increase in the size of heart, and the infant might also show serious breathing problems. Here, the infant can die at the early childhood. The late onset Pompe's disease begins later in the childhood. It can begin in adolescence or it can also begin in adulthood. Usually, it is milder than the infantile onset and it does not affect the heart as it affected in the infantile onset. But it may lead to respiratory failure if the disease progresses further. The Pompe's disease, as similar to the von Gerke's disease, is also transmitted through autosomal recessive trait. Thereafter, if there is deficiency of debranching enzyme which helps in conversion of limit dextrin to glucose 1-phosphate, then there will be occurrence of type 3 glycogen storage disease, which is also known as Cory's disease. The organs which are affected will be liver, muscles, heart, and leukocytes. The characteristic features include accumulation of branched glycogen in all the tissues. This is because the limit dextrin, it consists of branches, and hence this branched glycogen, which is nothing but the limit dextrin, will be accumulated in all the tissues. And if it is accumulated in all the tissues, there will be certain characteristic features shown by the patient such as enlarged liver, and other manifestations which will be shown in case of Cory's disease will be similar to the type 1 glycogen storage disease, but they will be mild in nature. Now see that in most of these diseases, liver and muscles are mostly affected. This is because glycogen is mainly stored in liver and muscles, which we had studied in case of glycogenesis. Now, if there is deficiency of glucosyl 4,6 transferase, which is also known as amylo 1,4,2,1,6 transglycosylase, then there will be occurrence of type 4 glycogen storage disease, which is also known as Anderson's disease. The organs affected are liver, muscles, and other tissues. The characteristic feature will include accumulation of unbranched glycogen. This is because glycosyl transferase or amylotransglycosylase helps to convert unbranched glycogen to the branched glycogen. But if this enzyme is deficient, then there will be accumulation of unbranched glycogen in our tissues, and this will lead to liver cirrhosis or impairment of liver functions. If there is deficiency of glycogen phosphorylase enzyme in our muscles, then there will be occurrence of type 5 glycogen storage disease, which is also known as McArdle's disease. The organ which will be affected is nothing but the skeletal muscle, because this type 5 glycogen storage disease, that is the McArdle's disease, occurs due to deficiency of glycogen phosphorylase in muscle. This glycogen phosphorylase in muscle is also known as myophosphorylase, and if myophosphorylase becomes deficient, then of course the organ which is affected will be the skeletal muscles. The characteristic features of this type 5 glycogen storage disease are accumulation of glycogen in the muscles. If glycogen is accumulated in the muscles, then while performing strenuous exercise, there can be some problems. Firstly, there will be inability to perform the strenuous exercise, means the patient cannot perform strenuous exercises. If he tries to perform it, then there will be muscle cramps, which will lead to intense pain. And even after that, if he tries to continue the exercise, then there can be muscle breakdown due to inadequate supply of energy. After that, if glycogen phosphorylase in our liver becomes deficient, in that case, there will be occurrence of type 6 glycogen storage disease, which is also known as HERS disease. And the organ which will be affected will be, of course, the liver, because here glycogen phosphorylase in our liver is becoming deficient. The characteristic features over here include accumulation of glycogen in liver. This will lead to increase in the size of our liver, and also there will be occurrence of mild hypoglycemia and ketosis. Lastly, if there is deficiency of 6-phosphofructokinase, then there will be occurrence of type 7 glycogen storage disease, which is also known as Tharoids disease. In case of Tharoids disease, the organs which are affected include skeletal muscle and erythrocytes. Now, this 6-phosphofructokinase helps to convert glucose 6-phosphate to fructose 1,6-biphosphate in case of our glycolysis. This fructose 1,6-biphosphate later on gets converted into lactate under anaerobic condition. Means the step shown over here, that is conversion of glucose 6-phosphate to fructose 1,6-biphosphate, which later on gets converted to lactate, it belongs to the glycolysis pathway. And if there is deficiency of 6-phosphofructokinase enzyme, then the lactate will not be generated in our skeletal muscles under anaerobic conditions. And if lactate is not generated in our muscles in anaerobic condition, then there will be generation of muscle cramps, there can be hemolysis, and there can be occurrence of red-brown urine due to breakdown of muscles and release of myoglobin. If the muscles are not getting sufficient energy to perform strenuous exercises, then these muscles will undergo breakdown, which releases the myoglobin, and this myoglobin is reddish in color. That's the reason why the urine of the patient appears reddish brown. Now, this type 7 glycogen storage disease is also transmitted through autosomal recessive trait because it also occurs due to genetic mutation. So these are the references which I have used for preparation of this video lecture. If you are having any doubts or queries, you can contact me on my email. Thank you very much.